An inspiring encounter. A stranger left a mysterious blue box that revealed an incredible secret. Jamie Thompson had just finished another grueling shift at the hospital, her muscles aching and her heart heavy with the weight of her responsibilities. Her patients depended on her. Yet at home, her aging father, once a celebrated physician, waited for her with unspoken needs that clawed at her guilt. She stepped onto her porch, the sun setting in a blaze of orange and pink, leaving burnished hues in the sky. It was then she noticed it. A vivid blue box perched on her welcome mat, an anomaly against the unfolding twilight. With a racing mind and hesitant fingers, she opened it, revealing her father's old journals that seemed to have emerged from the shadows of time. Inside, she found not only his groundbreaking research, but a startling revelation. A hidden inheritance that could rewrite their futures. As she sifted through the delicate pages, the familiar scent of old paper filled her senses. Confusion and hope waged war in her heart. What did it mean? Could they really escape the narrow paths drawn by hardship and labor? The very estate her father had tucked away when life began to bruise them seemed like a lifeline. But with every word she read, a knot tightened in her stomach. Her father's dreams had been sacrificed, and now her ambition threatened the loyalty to a man who had raised her through his struggles. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Each discovery was a weightier contradiction. If she pursued the inheritance, would she betray her father's diminished hopes? The thought tightened around her chest. What had she become? A nurse with a heart dedicated to serving the sick, while also clutching at the edges of ambition. Tripping down the fragile paths of family secrets, she knew she needed to seek help. Dr. Keller, her father's old mentor, possessed a reputation for being harsh, but wise. Maybe he could provide the insight she craved. But could he help her reconcile her dreams with her family's history? But then, there was her estranged brother, the raw wound of loss made flesh. He believed they should bury their past, not resurrect it. Confronting him felt like peeling back layers of belief that had shielded her for years. Did she truly want to lay it all bare? Standing against someone who felt as deeply as she did? The turmoil festered deep inside her, thoughts spiraling. What would it mean for their family if they latched onto disproved hopes? As both time and decisions loomed, Jamie's heart raced, a maelstrom of uncertainty. The blue box felt like a blessing and a curse, a potential path forward, entwined with anxiety. What door would she choose to open? Would the pursuit of her father's legacy bring liberation or destroy whatever fragile bonds were left? Just as those thoughts settled, another letter arrived. A crisp envelope with familiar writing on it. It contained an unexpected twist, holding the promise of unlocking not only her future, but possibly reshaping the dynamics of her family. With her heart racing and her mind whirling with chaotic possibilities, Jamie stood frozen on her porch, the box heavy in her hands, aware that every decision would tip the balance between hope and heartache. The envelope felt electric in Jamie's grasp, each heartbeat pounding at the frayed edges of her composure. She tore it open, her mind racing through possible scenarios. Inside was not just a letter. It was a lifeline. As she unfolded the crisp paper, her father's familiar handwriting poured forth, revealing intentions long buried and dreams postponed. The mention of his former partner ignited a flicker of recognition. He had once spoken of a joint endeavor, an innovative medical initiative that faltered due to funding and the healthcare crisis. She had never considered it a potential reawakening for their family. In a daze, Jamie sank onto the porch steps, the blue box beside her. journal spilling open like a family secret unfolding in real time. A delicate tendril of hope wove its way through her apprehension. What if pursuing this blur of a project could lift her from the confines of her current responsibilities? What if it could heal the fractures in her family caused by silence? Yet a voice beneath her ambitions whispered caution. Fostering these dreams meant unsettling delicate truths, especially with her brother. She hesitated. Then her fingers traced the polished words. Ignoring the echoes of her brother's voice in her mind, she stumbled over the idea of resurrecting their father's ambitions. Each realization led her deeper into a labyrinth of personal conflict. Was she playing the role of dutiful daughter or aspiring entrepreneur? The line blurred with every word. A confrontation with her brother felt imminent, but stepping into that territory felt akin to stepping onto a battlefield. She could hear the conversations she'd always avoided, but now the stakes pushed her forward. Jamie rose with renewed determination. This was not merely an inheritance. It could be a revival of the dreams stifled by her father's health crisis. Dr. Keller was the next step. His insights could unleash or bind her choices. The way forward materialized, and yet it twisted painfully through her familial obligations. A fleeting thought consumed her. What if her brother had cut ties to this project intentionally, fearing a renewed sense of inadequacy or failure? She would not step blindly, but she didn't want to circumvent him either. Confrontation filled her with apprehension. Would he understand her intentions or perceive betrayal? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Jamie locked eyes on the blue box once more. She had to confront her brother, though dread and excitement simmered within her. The dual lives she had lived as a nurse and daughter cocooned her, now standing at the precipice of unveiling the truth. She resolved to call him, to breach the chasm of silence. The evening air was thick as she picked up her phone, dialing his number, heart racing. With each ring, the knot in her stomach tightened while anticipation mixed with anxiety. The future loomed large, ready to be reshaped, but grounded in the fragility of family ties. This, she reminded herself, was the moment that could either unify or fracture them irrevocably. As the line finally connected, she heard his voice on the other end, a mix of irritation and surprise. The moment hung heavy, her resolve crystallizing. "Chris, we need to talk," she said, steadier than she felt. And just like that, she stepped into an arena where stakes ran deeper than blood. Each heartbeat a reminder that the truth had a cost. Would they emerge stronger? Or would the weight of choices shatter what they believed they had rebuilt? Jamie held her breath, adrenaline surging, her next step uncertain yet needed. This was just the beginning. The clashes perhaps leading to revelations neither had anticipated. The tension on the other end of the line was palpable. Jamie could feel it, a tangible push and pull that threatened to either unravel or solidify her purpose. Chris's initial irritation was quickly masked by curiosity, the familiar ebb and flow of their sibling dynamic rushing over her like an unexpected tide. "What's this about, Jamie?" Chris asked, his tone growing sharper. She imagined him shifting his weight, cautious yet intrigued, waiting for her to lay bare what had been weighing heavily on her for so long. "I found something from Dad. It's about a project he wanted to do," she began, her voice trembling slightly. The walls of her comfort zone felt like they were constricting around her, and she fought the urge to retreat into familiar coping mechanisms. Each word she spoke had the potential to alter the course of their relationship, but Jamie steeled herself against her self-doubt. Project? What project? His guarded skepticism pierced through her resolve, no doubt born from their shared history of unfulfilled promises and missed chances. "You know how I feel about his things." She could almost see him grimacing on the other side of the phone. Jamie pressed on. "I think this could be something significant. Dad worked with Dr. Keller on this. An initiative that was supposed to change how we approach patient care. Silence hung heavily, stretching seconds into what felt like an eternity. Jamie's heart rattled with uncertainty. She searched for the words that would resonate with him. We could revive it, Chris. We could do it together. Together? His incredulity slammed against her, a forceful reminder of the chasm that had opened up between them in recent years. You don't even know if it's feasible. Why would you drag me into this? The question was valid, but hit her like a stone, forcing her to confront the bitter truth. She had been pushing for a reunion that might not be wanted. Jamie knew she needed to approach this carefully, to mitigate the damage a hasty corner could inflict. Because we owe it to him, to us. I can't do this without you. Why now? He shot back, his voice more intense, ensnaring her sense of purpose with his skepticism. You didn't seem interested before. Why start now? Jamie inhaled sharply, her chest tightening with frustration and a flicker of regret. Because I was afraid, Chris. Afraid to bring it up. Afraid of what it would mean for us. But... Her voice steadied. I think it's time we face it. Together. The line crackled, and she hoped to hear something, anything, other than his usual silent dismissal. Jamie could feel the sludge of years of hurt spill into the conversation, making it heavy and cumbersome. Perhaps it was time to accept that pushing was just as dangerous as retreating. Still, she had to forge ahead. The very idea of rekindling her father's vision inspired uncharted territory, a chance at healing, a testament to their buried, shared ambitions. Let's meet. Chris finally countered, a mere exhale, wielding no promise but a slight opening. We can talk it through. A surge of relief coursed through her. It was a start, however small, a bridge over unsteady ground. Okay, when? Tomorrow, after work. The cafe? Sure, I'll be there. Ending the call, Jamie's heart raced. She was stepping into an emotional minefield with no guarantees, and many unknowns. The night ahead felt endless with the weight of anticipation pressing down on her. Would Chris see a future within this endeavor, or simply a reason to retreat further? As she rested her phone down, Jamie put a hand to her forehead, perspiration forming from weariness. Stepping back into her mother's house, the blue box loomed like a guardian watching her every move. What if this was more than just professional growth? What if it was a chance to understand the intricacies of her family through their shared legacy? The determination solidified within her like an anchor. Long-hidden aspirations begged for resolution, for clarity to lead. And Jamie knew that tomorrow was pivotal. But just as she prepared to embrace the evening, thoughts of their father, of the potentials opened within those nebulous dreams, swirled in her mind. Tomorrow would be a confrontation with her brother, but within it lay an opportunity. An opportunity not just for them, but for the ripples of change that could resonate in ways they had yet to comprehend. Would they piece together the fragments of a forgotten dream? Or would they stumble further into oblivion? Little did she know that a simple meeting at the cafe could open doors to conversations that neither of them was truly ready for. As darkness descended outside, Jamie realized the real fight was just about to begin. The cafe buzzed with a low hum of chatter and clinking cups, a stark contrast to the storm swirling in Jamie's mind. She slid into a booth, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her sleeve as she awaited Chris. The familiar scent of roasted coffee mingled with the warmth of baked goods, both inviting yet utterly irrelevant in the moment. This meeting was about reconciliation, a concept that felt like a fragile glass ornament on the precipice of being smashed. As the minutes stretched, Jamie reviewed her thoughts, crafting her words with the precision of an architect designing a bridge over turbulent waters. She wanted to connect, to build, but the fear of destruction loomed large. The draft of their father's plans lay hidden in her bag, the weight of potential burdensome yet compelling as the emotions bubbled within her. When Chris finally arrived, his expression was a blend of curiosity and hesitant expectation. His body language was crossed arms and a tight jaw, telling her he was shielding himself from whatever tumultuous torrent lay beneath the surface. He settled across from her without any pleasantries, eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that was both unsettling and invigorating. "You didn't tell me what the project was about. I wanted to surprise you," she replied, nervous laughter bubbling up unbidden. I think it could really change how we view patient care." Change? That's a heavy word. He leaned back, pulling the chair out with a subtle display of detachment. "What exactly are we talking about? More general checkups? A full reevaluation of systems?" "You have to understand, Jamie. There are a lot of hurdles." Jamie took a deep breath, the act grounding her in the present. "We'd have to develop a plan, find funding commitments, maybe even rally support from the community. But we could do this together, Chris. I believe in the vision Dad had." The revelation swung like a pendulum between them, unrelenting. His skepticism hung in the air, thick and almost tangible. "But who are we? That's my question. Can you really see us, two siblings who haven't spoken, doing this, building something?" "I can see it," she asserted, her voice firm amidst wavering nerves. "I see us mentoring together, using our skills to take this concept further than Dad ever could. We have the knowledge, the expertise, and the drive. It's time we stop letting whatever happened between us hold us back." For a moment, silence enveloped them, wrapping Jamie in the weight of her own declarations. She watched Chris's face shift, an internal battle etched in the lines of his forehead. "And if it fails?" he whispered eventually, vulnerability cracking through his armor. "Then we learn," she replied swiftly. "We adapt. But we've lived in the shadow of failures for too long, Chris. Isn't it time we tried to build something instead?" The flicker of uncertainty in his eyes told her everything. He wanted to believe her, but fear rooted him. A truth she had ignored flared to life. This wasn't merely about the project, but about healing the fissures of their past. Her fingers gripped the bag, clenching until knuckles turned white. It was not just a fight for their father's legacy. It was a contest of familial connection tested under a glaring spotlight. "I don't know if I can," he finally admitted. His admission released a suffocating tension. That single sentence, laden with vulnerability, weighed heavier than all the doubts he had expressed thus far. "Then let's start small. Let's commit to discussing it. No expectations, just conversations. Every shared idea chips away at the wall, you know?" A hint of intrigue sparked in Chris's stance, an opening, however slight. "Are you suggesting we work on this together and see where it goes?" Jamie nodded, hope threading through her heart. "Yes, together, one step at a time." Just as his lips parted to respond, a commotion erupted at the door. A man had entered, his demeanor erratic and wide-eyed. The atmosphere shifted, a palpable tension punctuating the air. It was clear he was searching for something. Or someone. Jamie caught Chris's gaze, an unspoken bond forming between them as the stranger's frantic energy rippled through the cafe. Who was this man? And what did he want? As Jamie's heart raced, she realized that their commitment to the project had just joined forces with an unforeseen distraction. Would the unfolding chaos bring them closer together, or tear them apart again? The moment hung heavy, pregnant with possibilities they hadn't anticipated. The stranger stepped further into the cafe, his eyes darting around, seeking an anchor amidst the disorder of patrons and the aromatic chaos of brewing coffee. Jamie felt her pulse quicken, not just from the unexpected disruption, but from an urgency that rippled through the space. The man, disheveled and frenzied, locked eyes with her for a fleeting moment before turning away, scanning the room again. Stay focused, she thought. This wasn't the meeting she envisioned. This distraction threatened the fragile connection she was trying to forge with Chris. The weight of their father's legacy loomed larger now, intertwining with the potential of this unexpected event. As the stranger approached, he gestured wildly, drawing attention from nearby tables. "I need help. If anyone here knows." His voice, strained and desperate, cut through the cafe's background noise, capturing the attention of patrons and servers alike. "Great. Just what we need," Chris muttered under his breath, an edge of disbelief in his tone. Despite his skepticism, Jamie could see a flicker of empathy in his eyes, a subtle indication that his barriers were beginning to crack. This man's intensity could become a catalyst, she realized. "Let's hear him out," Jamie said, her voice steadier than she felt. There was a possibility here, hidden beneath the chaos. The encounter might unravel deeper discussions between her and Chris, a necessary distraction from their doubts. The stranger finally approached their booth, practically vibrating with urgency. I'm sorry to disrupt things, but what you've seen today isn't just a coincidence. I've been searching for my brother, and he's connected to a medical facility nearby. They have something that could change everything, possibly even save lives." Interest piqued. Jamie's mind raced with implications. "What kind of facility?" she asked, her professional curiosity mingling with mounting adrenaline. "A research lab, focused on breakthroughs. But they aren't properly funded, and their work is being overlooked. If we can get them the right resources." His eyes locked onto Jamie with an intensity that mirrored the hope she felt stirring within her. "I don't have all the answers, but I believe it's crucial." Jamie's thoughts churned as she glanced at Chris. The stranger's desperation echoed the fears she had about their own goals, about failing to carry their father's vision forward. "This might be our chance to prove ourselves," she thought, weighing the potential of this moment. Chris shifted in his seat, processing the stranger's words, his skepticism battling the possibility of serendipity. "What does it have to do with you?" he asked, voice tinged with suspicion. "I'm involved with some of the research," the man replied, desperation sharpened by clarity. "But I can't do this alone. I need a team, someone skilled in operations, someone with drive. You both might be the missing pieces." That phrase hung in the air like a challenge. Team. Missing pieces. Jamie felt the rush of determination flood through her. She had been seeking a way to engage Chris, to pull him toward their father's legacy. And here it was, the opportunity resting right before them, glistening with promise and peril. As her heart pounded fiercely in her chest, she felt that familiar tension rise again, the push and pull between doubt and belief. "What if we could help?" Jamie asked, her voice steady, each word like a thread weaving them closer. Chris, for once, seemed to reflect her resolve as he turned to the man. "We'll hear more about this, but I need to know all the details first." Jamie held her breath, exhilaration and apprehension dancing within her. This wasn't just about an unexpected opportunity. It was a call to face her fears, both as a professional and as Chris's sister. She hoped this intersection of paths might finally lead them toward healing their fractured relationship. As the man began to explain the specifics, Jamie realized they were poised on the brink of something remarkable. Yet fear lingered. What if this opportunity brought more conflict? With each exchanged word and each shared glance across the table, the gravity of their conversation began to shift, revealing an uncharted territory ripe with both potential and uncertainty. Together they could reclaim their father's vision, but also face the storm of their unresolved pasts. As the stranger's story unfolded, Jamie felt a tremor of excitement. Little did they know, they were about to embark on a journey that could redefine everything they believed about themselves, and the moment curved inevitable towards a singular truth. To stand together would test not just their commitment to the project, but their very bond as siblings. And as the stranger revealed a crucial detail, a secret hidden within a blue box that had been entrusted to him. An unseen door opened, demanding attention. What lay inside could either bridge their gaps or widen them irreparably. What was the truth locked away in that box? And how would it alter the course Jamie and Chris were so tentatively trying to navigate? Jamie's heart raced as the stranger began to pull a small, unassuming blue box from his worn satchel. The cafe's noise faded into a distant hum, her focus narrowing to the object that seemed to pulse with unspoken possibilities. The air thickened with tension as she exchanged a quick glance with Chris, an unvoiced question passing between them. What was about to emerge? "Take a look at this," the man urged, lifting the box carefully, as if it were fragile. "This could open doors. It holds information about my brother's research, and potentially about your father's legacy too." At that moment, Jamie's breath caught. Their father's legacy, what had been a guiding star, albeit a distant one, now seemed intertwined with the stranger's urgent quest. Could this box really connect our paths? She mused, fighting the cynical voice in her mind that whispered of unrealistic hope. As the man opened the box, Jamie could see it was filled with papers and several small vials, containing various liquids that shimmered under the cafe's lighting. "These are prototypes of the treatments we're developing," he said, his enthusiasm palpable. "But without funding, they'll never reach those who need them." The sudden realization that they could be part of something bigger, a potential restoration of their father's work, fueled her resolve. But Chris remained circumspect, scrutinizing the vials. "What exactly do these do?" he asked. Skepticism edged in his voice as he leaned closer. "They're in the very early stages, but what we hypothesize is revolutionary," the stranger replied, his desperation mingling with a flicker of hope. "The funding cuts have stifled innovation. These treatments could change lives if only we had the resources to continue. That's where you two come in. Come." Jamie felt a wave of determination wash over her. This was not just a chance to look past their familial fractures. It was also a pivotal moment to reclaim their father's vision and turn it into action. "We should consider this seriously, Chris," she said, her voice firm. "This could be a tangible way to honor Dad's mission." "But why us?" Chris shot back, crossing his arms defensively. "We're not biomedical experts. What do we know about securing funding or managing a research project? This is your chance to step into that legacy," the stranger interjected, his earnest eyes searching theirs. "You both have skills that can translate into this world. Passion, creativity, strategic thinking. You're the drive this project needs. This is a challenge that could define you, bring you out of your comfort zones." Jamie's mind raced. Could she really step into the unknown once more? Every instinct inside her screamed against the upheaval. Yet the aspiration ignited a fire of possibility. "We can learn," she said softly, meeting Chris's gaze. "We can consult experts, bring on those who know what we don't." Our father believed in collaboration. This could be what he wanted us to do. Chris hesitated, the internal conflict visible on his face. The stranger reminded them of the urgency, and that life was often about taking risks. "You might think you're unprepared, but what you have to offer is exactly what this project needs. Few details in life come neatly packaged. Sometimes you just have to trust that you can figure it out as you go along." Jamie held her breath, sensing that everything hinged on this moment. "What if we fail?" Chris finally admitted, the mask slipping to reveal vulnerability. "If you don't take this chance, what will you truly learn about yourselves?" The stranger shot back, his voice steady with conviction. Jamie could feel the weight of Chris's indecision heavy in the air, a barrier between potential and stagnation. "Chris, let's not let fear dictate our futures. We have the opportunity to be part of something transformative. As their conversation intensified, the blue box loomed as a symbol of both hope and uncertainty. Would they dare to explore the depth of their capabilities, or would they let this chance slip away? The urgency within Jamie grew. They were standing teetering on a precipice. Then, unexpectedly, the stranger turned to the two of them with a look of gravity. Just know, once you decide, there's no going back. Are you ready to embrace whatever comes next? The words struck Jamie sharply, forcing her to confront her own fears head-on. Chris finally exhaled slowly and his shoulders relaxed just a fraction. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. I guess we'll need to start with a plan, he said, an ember of resolve igniting in his eyes. The prospect of facing their pasts alongside an unpredictable future loomed larger as Jamie felt both exhilarated and anxious. What awaited them? Nothing could prepare her for the choices ahead and the revelations that would alter everything they had believed about themselves and each other. The cafe felt electric, time suspended as decisions brewed like the coffee around them. Would they grasp this chance to confront their fears, or would their apprehensions command their retreat? Jamie, heart racing, mulled over the weight of the blue box and the truths brushing against its edges. What lay beyond this moment could change the course of their lives forever. As she thought of upcoming possibilities, one salient realization emerged clear. The future was both a promise and a threat, and she was ready to step forward. But would Chris be with her? Or would this be the line that divided them once and for all? As they settled back into the cafe's bustle, Jamie felt the adrenaline from their conversation coursing through her bloodstream. The decision was still fragile, hanging in the air like a half-formed thought. She stole a glance at Chris, whose brow furrowed as he stared into the depths of his coffee cup, mulling over the choice that could define their future. "Let's sketch out some ideas," she proposed, trying to anchor the moment with practical action. "If we're going to move forward, we need a framework." Reluctantly, Chris nodded, pulling out his phone. "Okay, but we'll also need to set clear roles. We can't just dive into this without knowing what we can actually contribute." The air crackled with tension, but Jamie recognized the flicker of determination igniting in Chris's eyes. "Then let's identify our strengths," Jamie said, her pulse quickening with the prospect of synergy. "I can handle research and outreach. We already know people in academia who might be interested in supporting us." Chris met her gaze, a contemplative look crossing his features. "And I can dive into fundraising. I've seen how my company pitches for projects. Maybe I can adapt similar tactics here." Jamie's heart lifted. They were charting a course toward collaboration, potentially reclaiming their father's work from the ashes of neglect. Each idea sparked hope, leaping over the shadow of uncertainty. Yet doubts persisted. "What if we don't get the funding or access to the right experts?" Chris asked. "What if this turns out to be a wild goose chase?" Jamie didn't shy away from his concerns. "Then we'll learn. That's what matters. Even failure can inform our future endeavors. Walk through it instead of around it." His uncertainty flickered as he took a breath, another layer of resolve settling on his shoulders. "Okay, what's our first move? Let's prepare a pitch for potential investors, showcasing the treatments. We'll need to simplify the science but emphasize the impact. We can even create a presentation that outlines our father's legacy and current innovations." The optimism in Jamie's voice set a pace that filled Chris with a sense of urgency to act. In that moment of clarity, an electric connection formed between them. Their past had been laden with conflict. Yet here, they were allies, discovering a shared passion fleetingly devoid of familial grievances. As Jamie began listing out the specifics of their plan, she could see Chris warming to it, his mind racing with prospects. Each step they composed turned the vague outlines of their potential into concrete actions, each word shaping their mission. Just as they were hitting their stride, the stranger reappeared, this time with an air of purpose. "I overheard part of your conversation," he interrupted, a knowing smile touching his lips. "You're serious about taking this on?" "Yes," Jamie replied, her voice strong, a newfound confidence tightening her posture. "We're ready to turn this into something real." "Fantastic," he said, pulling out a stack of papers. "I've got important contacts, resources you'll need. The clock is ticking, but this can become something bigger than any of us imagined." His eyes hurtled back and forth between them, searching for their reactions, sensing potential within their tension. The stranger's enthusiasm was contagious. Jamie felt it urge her forward, a collective heartbeat propelling them into the unknown. She felt the weight of the blue box pressing against her mind, what it represented swelling with urgency. But another fear dawned. What if they weren't equipped to navigate the nuanced terrain ahead? What if their father's legacy became a burden too heavy to bear? Yet a whisper of self-discovery floated inside her, daring her to defy that fear. She could see it now. This was about so much more than reclaiming a legacy. It was carving out her own identity, presenting an opportunity to shape her future by embracing vulnerability. "Let's set up a meeting with your contacts then," she said, her voice steady, as if solidifying who she intended to become. "Agreed," Chris said, echoing her determination, the flicker of fear receding just a little into burgeoning hope. "Just remember," the stranger cautioned as he handed the stack to Jamie. "The path won't be easy. There will be challenges, and not everyone will support you." Jamie nodded, her heart pounding in anticipation. "We've got this," she said, suddenly realizing that challenges equated to opportunities for growth. But as they readied their next steps, there remained an unshakable nagging. What major obstacles awaited them down this path, and would they be strong enough to face them? As they departed the cafe, the warm afternoon sun illuminating their resolve, Jamie felt the air thick with both promise and foreboding. What would they uncover about their father, the treatments, and themselves in this newfound endeavor? She took one last look back at the cafe, feeling the remnants of ambivalence ghosting her mind. With the blue box clutched tightly in her hand, Jamie wondered, what truths were waiting just beyond the horizon? As they stepped onto the sunlit sidewalk, Jamie felt the world shift around her, as if the air itself buzzed with possibilities. Chris walked beside her, his expression a curious blend of apprehension and excitement, and she couldn't help but admire the new light in his eyes, a reflection of their shared purpose. "Okay, so what's next?" he asked, glancing at the papers the stranger had given Jamie. She could sense the unspoken questions hanging in the air. What if they bit off more than they could chew? What if, in trying to revive their father's legacy, they unwittingly tarnished it? "It's time to create a solid pitch," Jamie replied, her tone firm. "Let's focus on the treatments, especially their real-world applications. We can make this impact tangible. People respond to stories, not just data." Chris nodded, his fingers tapping against his phone, already pulling up documents. "Right. Let's define our narrative. What made our father passionate about this work? What was at stake?" As they walked, Jamie began to rack her brain for the details of their father's research. The long nights he spent poring over articles, the fleeting moments of joy when they accomplished something worthwhile. It was more than mere science. It was about hope, healing, making a difference. His drive came from experiencing loss. Jamie began, her voice steadying as they approached a small park. "He wanted to ensure that others don't have to go through what we did. That's what we need to highlight." Chris stopped, the gravity of her words hanging in the air. "So it's a personal mission for us too," he mused, the connection between their past and this endeavor solidifying. "We honor him by bringing this work to fruition." Exactly, Jamie said, her heart swelling with an unfamiliar sense of purpose. In that moment, she realized that they were no longer just two siblings caught in a web of old grievances. They were pioneers, staking their claim on a future that transcended their context. They found a bench in the park, and Jamie opened the stack of papers. Her eyes scanned over the contact information, each name a potential gateway into their father's world. She felt the blue box pressing against her side, a reminder of the uncertain journey ahead. "Let's split up the tasks," Chris suggested. "If I focus on the pitch and layout, can you handle reaching out to these contacts? Maybe schedule a few meetings?" "Absolutely," she replied, recognizing the importance of delegation. It was a step toward trust, an act of letting go of some control. In that instant, Jamie felt a flicker of pride. She was beginning to understand that collaboration didn't equate to loss of agency, but enriched her pursuit. As she jotted down notes and contacts, darker thoughts began to creep in. What if their father's work was outdated? What if they faced rejection from every direction? She buried them deep, determined not to let those fears control her narrative. Hours passed as they finalized their roles and structured the pitch, the park alive with the hum of afternoon. In that fleeting oasis of productivity, Jamie felt her confidence blossom. She was no longer the hesitant daughter wavering under her father's shadow. She was a trailblazer rallying for change. The day waned, shadows lengthening, when Chris looked at his sister, a mix of resolve and concern in his expression. "If we get these meetings, if we push ourselves and still fail, what then?" For a moment Jamie considered the depth of his fear, the looming prospect of failure. "Then we get back up. We learn from it. It's not just about launching the treatments. It's about discovering who we are in the process." "That's a lot of pressure," he admitted, a brittle humor forcing its way through the tension. "It's not pressure if we're doing it together," Jamie countered, a spark igniting within her. "It's partnership." As the sun dipped below the horizon, splattering the sky with brilliant hues, Jamie knew they were on the precipice of something transformative. But as they gathered their papers to leave, a nagging concern echoed inside her. Would they possess the emotional resilience to withstand inevitable setbacks? What awaited them in the realms of cold professionalism and personal vulnerability? The blue box felt heavy in her hands again, holding more than documents. It held their future, a future that could unravel in unexpected ways. And as they walked away from the park, a question lingered like a whisper. What lies deeper in their father's legacy, waiting to be uncovered? Jamie awoke the next morning, the blue box lying ominously beside her on the nightstand. The soft glow of dawn seeped through the curtains, casting shadows that danced across the room. She sat up and rubbed her eyes, feeling an electric mix of anticipation and anxiety course through her veins. Today, everything could change. She glanced at her phone, a series of notifications blinking, reminders of the contacts she had to reach out to. Each potential meeting felt like a double-edged sword, capable of either opening doors or laying bare their vulnerabilities all over again. With her heart racing, she slipped out of bed and made her way to the kitchen, the quiet house amplifying her thoughts. As she poured a cup of coffee, her mind wandered to the conversations she would need to have. Those names from the papers, what could they offer? Would they see the potential in her father's research, or dismiss it as irrelevant? Jamie fought the urge to retreat into doubt, sharpening her focus instead. Once at her laptop, she began to draft emails. The words flowed initially, her fingers tapping confidently against the keys as she outlined their vision. But as she delved deeper, a creeping hesitation filled the room. What if her writing betrayed her lack of experience? What if her enthusiasm was seen as naive? She took a deep breath, forcing herself to push through the mental fog. Each person on her list held a thread of their father's legacy, she had to weave those threads into a compelling pitch. Just as she finished her first email, Chris strolled into the kitchen, his own bag slung over his shoulder, the determination in his eyes mirroring her own uncertainty. "Hey, how's it going?" he asked, snagging a piece of fruit from the bowl on the counter. "It's okay. I'm trying to put together something that sounds professional," Jamie replied, glancing at the screen. "But I keep wondering if I'm saying the right things." "Let me take a look," he offered, leaning closer. As she shared her words with him, he nodded, interjecting thoughtful suggestions that intertwined their father's passion with their current ambitions. Little by little, Jamie felt those self-doubts peel away, revealing a clearer vision of what they could achieve together. "You've got this," Chris encouraged as they finished the email. "This is our time to make something of it." With renewed energy, Jamie sent out the email, her heart pounding as she hit send. It felt monumental, like crossing an invisible threshold into uncharted territory. They were no longer just two siblings trying to reconcile their shared past. They were now advocates for a cause that could change lives. The hours ticked by, filled with drafting emails, phone calls, and tentative discussions about their next steps. Despite the whirlwind of productivity, Jamie noticed an undercurrent of trepidation swirling beneath her enthusiasm. Alone in the quiet moments, she wrestled with the fear of rejection. What if the risks outweighed the rewards? Later that evening, as they wrapped up for the day, Chris's phone lit up, an incoming message from one of the contacts. Jamie felt a rush of energy pulse through her when Chris read it aloud, an invitation to meet at a nearby coffee shop. Their moment had arrived. "See?" Chris laughed, lifting his phone in triumph. "I told you things would start to happen." But alongside his excitement, a sudden dread niggled at Jamie. The weight of their father's legacy, combined with the burden of their own aspirations, felt heavy on her shoulders. This wasn't just about them anymore. It was about honoring a vision that had shaped their lives. "I just hope we don't mess this up," Jamie said, her voice quiet, vulnerable. "We won't." Chris's confidence wrapped around her like a lifeline. As they finalized plans for the meeting, Jamie recognized it was time to confront not only the expectations of others, but the expectations she placed on herself. This journey was fraught with both peril and promise, and with every step, she was redefining her identity. Yet the question lingered. If they succeeded in securing this meeting, would they have the resolve to push through, or would fear of failure send them spiraling back into doubt? In the depths of her thoughts, Jamie tightened her grip on the blue box. It felt like a catalyst for everything to come. As they departed for the coffee shop, she reminded herself that the path forward was not solely about achievement, but was a quest for understanding their father and themselves. With anticipation hanging thick in the air, one thought flickered at the edge of her consciousness. What hidden truths awaited them when they stepped into that coffee shop? As Jamie and Chris approached the coffee shop, the warmth of the glow from the exterior lights contrasted sharply with the tightening knot of apprehension in Jamie's stomach. This meeting had the potential to change everything. Their relationship, their father's legacy, and their futures. The scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, momentarily distracting her from the anxiety fluttering within her. Inside, the hum of conversation enveloped them, but Jamie could hear the beating of her own heart louder than any noise. They found a table by the window, and minutes felt like hours as they awaited the arrival of the contact. This would be their opportunity to present their vision of their father's work, a chance to not just reclaim his legacy, but to breathe new life into it. When their contact arrived, a distinguished-looking gentleman in a crisp suit, his presence instantly commanded the room. He offered a handshake, introducing himself as Dr. Matthews, a well-respected figure in medical research circles. Jamie felt a rush of nerves. This was a man whose opinion could validate or dismiss everything they had worked for. "Thank you both for meeting with me," Dr. Matthews said, settling into the chair opposite them. "I understand you have a proposal regarding your father's work." "The work he dreamed of pursuing," Jamie began, her voice tremulous but firm. She glanced at Chris, who nodded encouragingly. "It's a medical initiative focusing on cutting-edge treatments that could significantly impact patient care. We believe it's time to bring those dreams to fruition." As she spoke, Jamie could see Dr. Matthews' expression shift from curiosity to interest. She detailed the research ideas they had woven together, grounding each proposal in the legacy of their father's passion. With every word she expressed, the weight of responsibility transformed into a sense of empowerment. "That's quite ambitious," Dr. Matthews acknowledged once she finished. "But ambition without a solid plan doesn't cut it in this field." His words sliced through her momentum. Jamie felt a familiar doubt creeping in. Was this initiative truly formidable, or just the rehashed dreams of a daughter yearning for recognition? Yet, Chris interjected quickly. "We've thoroughly researched the current state of patient care models and funding needs. If we integrate our father's findings along with modern approaches, we can fill the gaps that his work once addressed." Dr. Matthews' brow arched, intrigued. "I'm listening." Encouraged by Chris's endorsement, Jamie pressed onward. Their conversation deepened, shifting from just ideas to strategies. Ideas flew back and forth like a lively debate, and as the minutes passed, Jamie felt the pulse of possibility quicken her veins. They were no longer merely children in their father's shadow. They were adults, with agency, forging a legacy from their family's history. Eventually, Dr. Matthews leaned back thoughtfully, absorbing the passion that had ignited between the siblings. "I won't lie. Funding in this field is fiercely competitive. But what you've proposed is compelling. It would take significant commitment from both of you." In that moment, Jamie embraced the challenge, her nerves transforming into solid resolve. "We understand the stakes. This isn't just a passion project. It's about transforming lives, using the knowledge and resources at our disposal. We're fully prepared to put in the work and the hours required." "All right," Dr. Matthews said slowly, a contemplative glint in his eye. "Let's explore the next steps. If we can draft a proposal that outlines your structure, objectives, and potential partnerships, we might just be able to secure the funding you need." A rush of exhilaration surged through Jamie. This was it. This was the tipping point where all their doubts could be cast aside and replaced with the potential for success. The weight of the blue box, the unmarked future, now felt lighter, almost celebratory. As they parted ways and stepped back into the cool night air, Jamie reveled in the adrenaline coursing through her. They had taken an enormous step, and she felt solidified in her identity as not just her father's daughter, but a professional capable of steering her own path. "You did great," Chris said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. "I know you were nervous at the beginning, but you owned that meeting." The acknowledgement struck a chord within her. "We did this as a team," she replied, her voice steady. She turned to him, seeing a shift in his demeanor, a newfound respect for not just their project, but for each other. "Maybe we can actually pull this off," he mused thoughtfully. "And maybe, just maybe, we can repair our relationship along the way." As they walked home together, the stars twinkling in the expansive sky above, Jamie reflected on how far they had come. This journey had forced them to confront fears, insecurities, and buried ambitions, transforming each tension into opportunities for growth. The road ahead remained perilous, but today marked a pivotal shift, a moment where they both received recognition, not only for their father's legacy, but for their determination to forge their own identities. No longer bound by the weight of family history, Jamie and Chris emerged with a solid confidence, ready to conquer the challenges ahead. It was a testament to what they had achieved together, proving that confronting truth could yield fulfillment and accomplishment. It was no longer merely about the project. It was about what they could achieve as individuals embarking on a shared legacy. As the blue box now lay silently beside her on the table, she recognized it represented not just their father's dreams, but the realization of their dreams. It was a reminder that they were no longer just children needing validation. They were powerful agents of change, able to redefine the narrative of their family. With a final glance at the dark expanse of the sky ahead, Jamie understood the real journey was just beginning. And with determination simmering beneath the surface, she was ready to fully embrace it. Now it's your turn to be part of this transformative story. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire growth. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and spread the stories that matter. Comment your thoughts and reactions about Jamie and Chris's incredible journey. We want to hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how overcoming challenges can lead to greatness. Your support makes all the difference.